That's true.
So one can say that non-duality is based upon traditions, but the tradition is essentially an interpretation of what is true.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to a new episode of the Spiritual Inspire podcast. I am your host, Claudio Murgan. For all the episodes, visit spiritualinspire.ca, gnostictv.com, our YouTube channel. And for purchasing any books or merchandise related to my name, go to soulawakeningstore.com. Now, for today, I have a power couple with me for the third time on Spiritual Inspired, Jamie and Michael Thornhill. Thank you for joining me.
Hey, Claudio. Hey, everyone. Great to
Hello.
be back. Thank you for having us again.
Thank you.
It's been a while, and a lot of things happened for you, and you made drastic decisions in your life. So let's talk about how do you think, or how do you see the world now from that new perspective you acquired since we last talked?
You want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think really in terms of where we're at now, as you know, Claudio, we're our new brand that we're just launching at the moment is called Inner Truth Seekers. And the reason that we're called Inner Truth Seekers, or we've called our business, or the business called itself Inner Truth Seekers, we should more accurately say, is that the culmination of both Jamie and I's, you might call it spiritual seeking, you might call it trauma transformation, you might call it coming home to the truth of who we are, or this awakening process. There's so many different ways to describe that, but for us, the most authentic way to describe that is inner truth seeking. And this is what's been so transformative in our own life. And through the last decade or so of really helping people in their own transformation and awakening process, what we've seen, the most profound transformations in our own beings and with all the people that we've worked with over these years is when someone decides to follow their own inner truth, when they awaken to what their own soul blueprint is, when they awaken to their own inner knowing beyond the illusion of separation or beyond physical reality, beyond the constructs of what is supposed to be, and they awaken to that divine intelligence that's within, that is the fertile ground for everything else that will arise. And what we see is as we work with people right through from trauma transformation through to intuitive development, through to being conscious leaders or conscious business owners, and we help them through that process of stepping into being of service to others or working in that kind of a way of bringing the planetary shift towards love, as we describe, consciously, positively contributing to the planetary shift towards love. Inner truth is at the center of it. So when we ask ourselves, and Jamie and I ask ourselves a lot of things, but when we asked ourselves what's next for us, and we've kind of just been kind of quietly waiting for this kind of next stage of our life to kind of blossom and bloom, it was inner truth that arose. And that is where we feel like that we can have the most impact in the world, in the planetary shift towards love, is helping people step by step, hand holding where necessary, sharing so much empowerment as much as possible so that people can go out and share and express their own inner truth with the world.
Thank you, and congrats on the new brand and the new direction you are going. And Jamie, because Michael mentioned inner truth and change, how do you see yourself evolving from the last time we talked? What was new for you in terms of perspective and skills and everything else?
Great question. Thank you, Claudia. Uh, for me, I'll just speak for me. The shift has been towards recognizing that everything is already within. So everything that I'm looking for, everything I'm desiring, everything, all the guidance I'm wanting, all the direction, all the understanding and knowing of myself, that it's all within. And when I say that about me, I mean that about you and Michael and everybody listening, that we actually have all our answers within. And so the shift for me has been moving towards and prioritizing singularly what I would call inner authority over outer authority. And so, what that means is, maybe I'll explain it in sort of a comparison. If I was interested in something I had heard about Eckhart Tolle, for instance, and I go and I read a book of his. If I'm reading from a perspective of wanting outer authority to tell me what to do and then just follow it, I'm going to read his book. Excuse me, I'm going to look for specific guidance and steps and teachings, and then I'm going to study them, and then I'm going to practice them. And that's going to be where my focus is, following outer authority. Now, another way of engaging Eckhart Tolle's work would be from a place of inner authority, knowing that I already have everything I need within, and there's something about him that really speaks to me that I love. And so I'm going to go read the book A New Earth. And I go read that book, and I'm consciously tuning in while I'm reading to the things that are standing out and speaking to me. Because if I'm coming from a place of inner authority, I'm recognizing that all this book is doing is reflecting back to me something that I already know or that I'm ready to better understand or have awareness of. And so, from that standpoint, I'm not handing my power over to another person that I'm saying they're smarter than me, they're more intelligent, I need to do what they say. Instead, what I'm doing is I'm saying, this person resonates with me at a level that has high value to be able to reflect things back to me, for me to take in and recognize or remember, is what I might call it, about myself. And so, from that perspective, that emphasis is on knowing and trusting my own inner resources versus being confused, lost, doubtful, and being like, oh, somebody tell me what to do. I'm like, you know what? I think if I just take a moment and I get quiet and I go inward, I'll know what to do. And from a place of love. And so for me, with the shift in our work and launching Inner Truth Seekers, it's really meant to empower each person in being more aware of their own authenticity, their own inner truth, their own intuition, actively, consciously tuning into it as a way of life, not just, oh, go meditate for an hour once a day, but tuning into it throughout the day numerous times, taking a pause, closing the eyes, tuning into the inner truth. And then when we recognize it or feel it or sense it or know it, that we begin to affirm it through action, through embodiment. So, oh, I feel this is true for me, making this decision, taking authentic action towards making that decision, and then actually demonstrating that in the life and starting to really embody the inner truth, the authenticity, our own unique path. That's whenever in every single one of us has our own unique, I call it our blueprint, our soul's mission, our purpose, our path. And so, really, that's already programmed into each one of us. And what we've done is we've recognized we don't want, now with our work, we don't want anything distracting anyone from that. We don't want anyone to think, oh, this is something I get if I go out here and I follow this teacher. And even when, Claudio, when we teach and when we channel and we mentor, it's always to empower the person to look within, to trust their own intuition, to follow their own inner guidance, because the tools that we impart and the guidance that we share is meant to empower somebody in their own experience, in their own truth, in their own knowing. And so, therefore, on some level, it's kind of hard to consider. Sometimes when I reference myself as a teacher, it's like I'm teaching people how to connect with and trust and embody their own inner truth.
Yes, thank you. It's a beautiful advice for people to, read a book, especially if it's a non-fiction, spiritual related book, full of teachings, to check it out and sense and feel the book from that perspective. And sometimes, even when we read a novel, if we find a very interesting statement, we should take the time to reflect on it and see how we feel about it and how we can apply it in our daily life.
I love that. That feels true. Yeah.
And I know you guys used to work with ancient practices. And do you see these practices being protected and used in a safe way? Or do you think there are some dangers for being misused and misinterpreted?
Do you mind if I answer that? Okay. Yeah, for me, I'm going to call it, gosh, any religious tradition, any spiritual tradition, any paradigm, educational paradigm, any any tools that have been created that are part of a practice, from any, I'm going to say, any tradition or religion across the planet, okay, whether it's coming from ancient times, whether it's coming from indigenous traditions, people, wherever it's coming from, these things are often meant to inspire. They're meant to inspire people. And I think at the truest essence of all of them, religion, spirituality, traditions, I think at the truest essence of all of them, they're meant to ignite us or awaken us or alert us or inspire us towards what I would call our divinity. And you might even just say God. And I don't mean the religious God, I just mean the loving intelligence that's in the fabric of all beingness, God. They're meant to help us recognize or see or inspire us towards feeling that sense of interconnectedness, that sense of love, that sense of God, that sense of oneness, that sense of maybe even being holy. And not that someone's holy and somebody isn't. All or everyone are holy. So in that sense, I think the traditions and the religions and the protocols and the paradigms, they have like an essential, maybe a sincere truth to them. What tends to happen across history is, depending on the level of consciousness of the person that's engaging in that tradition or religion at the individual level, and depending on the consciousness or the level of consciousness of the people who are teaching it or facilitating it or ministering it or leading it. It's only as good as the level of consciousness of those people. Okay,
Yes.
so depending on where we are in our own level of consciousness is where we step into that. And if we're not working with people who are at a higher level of consciousness or a more expanded or higher vibration, then we may be just learning the same things over and over again and not move or expand anywhere. And so, while these tools, traditions, protocols, paradigms, religions can be helpful, they also have a tendency to reflect the level of consciousness, the people who are teaching and facilitating or engaged in them. And they do have a tendency to, gosh, what would I say, become limited by when our egos get involved, which happens everywhere, all over the place, in any context, in family, in society, in community, in jobs, in our spiritual work. The ego can get involved. And if we're not aware of the voice of our ego, if we're not aware of how our ego works and what its function is, then we might mistake that for spirituality. But at times it can get involved and have a tendency to want to define or limit that, and therefore keep things sort of closed off from the actual potential expansion of all of it.
Yes.
I hope that makes sense. Would you add anything to that, Michael?
I mean, I would say from my own perspective that for us, what has been alive within us, I would say probably for the last 5 or 6 years, but over the last couple of years, even more, I would say intensely, is just the foundation of non duality in all of our work.
That's true.
So one can say that non-duality is based upon traditions, but the tradition is essentially an interpretation of what is true. So any type of tradition, as Jamie was already saying, that adds another layer on top of the truth. The tradition is beneficial if it helps you to gain a deeper access to more truth than you currently have. if you already have an awareness of the direct truth yourself, the tradition is not necessary. So, for example, someone is lost in their life and then they hear about the church and they go to the church and then they have an experience of perhaps experiencing God or love around. And then at some point throughout that process, they may realize, wow, actually, I don't need to go to the church and I don't need the sermon to be able to connect me with God. And then at some point, they might actually say, oh, actually, when I go to the church, I realize that maybe 50% of the stuff that's now being taught doesn't resonate with me. It provides less truth than what my own inner truth is. So these different traditions and practices and all of these different kind of experiences that we're talking about, and this can be across any religion, tradition, or practice, they're essentially stepping stones or access points for you to get the awareness of your own inner truth. Or in the non-dual sense, in terms of when we start talking about absolute truths or like the non-dual nature of reality, the oneness of all things, the infinite consciousness that's ever present, whether we're aware of it or not, it doesn't need anything from us. If we're able to kind of touch into that without any of these traditions, why would we add all these layers on top? So the tradition can often be mistaken for the truth rather than an access point. So I think if you engage in any tradition, see it for what it is as an access point, and then you can retain your sovereignty through that process. But in my experience, the deeper that you go with this, the less that you want these kind of filters to truth. Just as we kind of reading the news, we go, okay, this news source has all this kind of stuff on top. This news source has all this stuff on top. I actually want the direct truth. Okay, I'll turn the news off. So that's the best way to get it.
Yes, I agree with both of you. And I read many examples, even regular people, normal people who had a out of the body experience, and from there they evolved spiritually, and their consciousness got at a higher level. And at one point, they had a dream that they will meet the priest. They used to go to the church, and they will meet the priest on the street, and they will tell the priest, you know, Father, starting this coming Sunday, I don't need to come to the church anymore. And he will just walk away. And it happened. So the following day or 2 days later, he met the priest on the street, and this is exactly what he told him, because his level of consciousness told him, you don't need that stepping stone anymore, as you said, Michael. And he just went on his own, developing his own skills, using the internal strength. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that. And then, to kind of link that in terms of why we're kind of making this kind of transition, and this is kind of where we've got to in our own evolution of being of service. That's what we've actually found is, and if we ask ourselves, and we have, it's like, how can we help people to access that inner truth in a way that they feel empowered and don't become reliant upon us,
Yeah.
that we're only ever seen as like a guide that's helping someone to connect rather than like a guru or something like this that people need for their whole life. We're just kind of transitory experiences for people to have to remain connected with their own intuition. So that's what's always been really powerful for us. We've experienced that in our life. And I think what sometimes happens, I don't know the end of the church story, but what I can say from my own experiences is often when someone has that awakening of that recognition that they don't need that stepping stone, the gatekeeper of a tradition or an organization, the ego of that organization or that person can get quite upset or triggered. And it might start touching into their own lack beliefs, not feeling like they're good enough. And they may try to get someone to stay in that organization for longer than they necessarily need. So I think like the nuance of the approach of the teacher student relationship in any situation is for the teacher and the student to be aware when that relationship comes to its natural conclusion, and that there's just this kind of free flowing step to the next evolution of both the teacher and the student.
Mm.
Yes, and usually the structured religion is very strong in letting anyone go, and they want to keep it down, to keep it within their boundaries. And I have countless um, examples on the podcast when some guest went to the church for many years and they started developing skills, and people got sick at the church and they healed these people, channeling energy through their bodies, just to be called by the higher ups in the church saying, "Are you possessed? What's wrong with you?" "Yeah, but I just healed someone." "Doesn't matter, what's wrong with you?" So is you have this antagonism within the same structure when they want to bring you, or they claim they want to bring you close to who you really are, and Yeshua and God. And at the same time, as soon as you get closer, they say, No, no, you're not allowed to do that."
Yes. Get as close as you can and then stop.
Yes,
And don't tell us about it.
exactly. Jamie, you teach intuitive readings, mentorship, and intuitive design and branding. How does your approach to mentorship differ from coaching, and how does it support inner truth seekers?
Ah, great question. Thank you so much. Um, the way that my unique approach is similar to what we've been talking about, that I'm aware that everybody's already intuitive. I'm no part of me is over here thinking I'm special or unique because I'm an intuitive medium, and those are just words I use to describe how I'm behaving intuitively. But so the work that I come at in my intuitive readings, when I do one on one sessions with people looking for spiritual guidance, and in my intuitive development course, when I'm working with professionals who are wanting to work intuitively and as a channel adeptly in their job, in their business. When I work with people, I'm first of all coming from a place of knowing that you're already intuitive. So no part of me doubts that you've got to learn to be intuitive. I already know that you're intuitive. I already know that you're behaving intuitively on a daily basis. Even though you may not know that or be conscious or aware of it, I am. And so I totally have faith and trust and conviction in that for and with and about people. Um, the other thing is that the way I teach is from a place of, if I was referencing the Law of One, the 5 book series of channeled content by Carla Ruckert. I love that book series, and the channeled content really resonates with me. And again, like you said, Claudio, anyone who reads that, pay attention to what resonates with you and what doesn't. It's not meant to take it all in. But so from that, there's a term called polarization and being polarized in service to others or in service to self. So if I was referencing that, I would say that I'm also polarized in service to others. What that means in normal language is that I'm tuned into the unity that already exists within all of us, the love that's already inherent in our beingness, and my ethics and my values and my integrity in the work I do stem from there. So that means that I'm coming from a place of recognizing someone's spiritual sovereignty, that no part of me needs to have them believe anything, that I don't have any attachment to their outcome, that I'm not expecting the guidance that I come through to be acted upon or resonated with. So what I'm saying is I'm doing intuitive reading, providing spiritual guidance, or as I'm teaching someone how to strengthen their awareness of their own intuition, I'm saying, I trust that you will know what resonates with you and not. And I have no need for it to be any certain way that I honor someone's sovereignty. Okay. So I'm constantly sort of saying, be free to do what you will with this information, this teaching, this guidance, this course. And then in doing that, what that really does is it empowers somebody to find and trust their own path and really strengthen that in their core. Instead of, oh, Jamie intuits like this, which I'm the only person who intuits and channels like I do. Michael's the only person who channels like he does. You're the only person who has receptivity intuitively like you do. Everyone's brilliantly unique. And so I can't teach you to do it like me because that wouldn't be authentic and you wouldn't gain anything from it. So in the course, what I'm doing with the course is channeling, sharing guidance, teachings that's intuitively connected to how the person authentically works, who the person authentically is. And so there's a encouragement and empowerment for the person to really trust themselves. Okay, it feels like it's working like this through me, to affirm it themselves. I'm the only one who can affirm that for myself. And then to really get strong and confident in that, oh, okay, this is how it works. And really to know themselves instead of, hey, do it like I do it. It's the right way. Or do it like Michael does it because that's the right way. There's only the right way for us individually. And so that's how I teach in the intuitive development course. And then also when I'm working with people in intuitive readings, constantly tuning in with the person, having them check with themselves, how is this resonating with you or not? How does this feel? Do you want to go deeper into this? Would you like to switch subjects? And so just making sure that the person understands that their it's their free will that's involved, their decisions, their choices matter and actually steers the show.
Yes, you're right. And I mentioned several times on this podcast that I send a meditation to a number of friends, and I told them, see, check this meditation because this is something that activated me in a certain way. And I waited for feedback, and I waited for feedback, and I waited for feedback. So no one got the same reaction I did. So
Mm,
that tells you exactly what you said. Maybe they're not ready. Maybe their body wasn't ready. Maybe they're not paying enough attention. Maybe they haven't done it enough times. I don't know. So many variables. But as you said, we each react differently to potentially the same type of frequency or teaching.
absolutely. I love that you have that direct experience of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
How do you help clients right now with this new direction and what they should expect when interacting with you?
well. The first thing is we're always evolving, and that's always been the case for me. And I always try to bring through in all of my work the most potent and powerful things that I know are beneficial, have been beneficial for me, and the things that have the most impact with other people. So there's this constant refinement. And really, the four areas which I have found to be the most powerful and impactful for people and are non-dual awakening programs, intuitive guidance and channeling sessions and programs. I do a lot of work with conscious leadership and intuitive business coaching with people who are stepping into service with others. And I do a lot of trauma transformation work. So, all those kind of programs that I offer, they really help people go through that stage and that transformation from waking up to being a consciousness or a being, to kind of work through the difficulties of being a human, like the trauma, and kind of taking that step eventually to recognizing the kind of infinite nature of consciousness beyond the physical reality, and then also stepping into service to others. So all of the work that I do is channeled, it's intuitive, it's always connecting with the person's higher self, and it's bringing something through uniquely. It's not like directions from a manual or a book. It's not like a coaching program that I have studied and kind of been certified in and done this. It's this unique approach that has been, I would say, awakened within me over the last 9 years or so of working with people, and what's helped me transform my own life from healing from ritual abuse, childhood trauma, childhood abuse, through kind of going through some of the stuff that we've talked about previously, about kind of going in and learning in traditions and then kind of unraveling that and leaving again and kind of dealing with all the kind of fallout from what it might mean to give your sovereignty away, to kind of living life feeling like you're a separate being and then kind of reacting from that place of this limited in like this limited personality in this human, and then right through to the fact of when you're ready. And this is the just like really big part of the work that we do at Inner Truth Seekers now, is when you wake up, and I'm not talking about in the morning, I'm talking about like when you actually wake up, then you go through this personal transformation. And I'm assuming that this is for you, Claudia, as well, but please, like tell me after I've just said this next point, when you wake up, at some point you want to kind of share that with the world. You want to help people. And I'm assuming that through all the great books that you write, this great podcast that you have, all the great work that you do in sharing all your knowledge with the world, that's just such a natural progression. But it's not necessarily something that you study in school. It's not like, when people say, ask you in school, it's like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Brackets that supports the economy and the Industrial Revolution. It's not like, what do you really want to be when you grow up? So, really, the work that we do, and through all those things that I've just kind of shared and talked about, that's the one on one work I do with people. But we also have the Inner Truth Seekers Academy, which is a multidimensional learning community which helps people to amplify their abundance, their impact, and their authenticity as they live and work their soul's mission in service to others. Otherwise, knowing as positively contributing to the planetary shift towards love. So, all the work that we do through wherever it is that you're at, as you can see from these different offerings that we have, we meet you where you're at, whether you're just first waking up or you're taking this bold step to be of service to others. We help you to embody your soul's mission, to connect to that inner truth. The first thing to do for embodying your inner truth is to become aware of it. When you're aware of it, when you've kind of moved through the different levels and layers of trauma that we might experience on Earth, we start learning more about our soul's calling. The next step is to take conscious action to embody it. And then one of the other aspects of what we have here, and which is, it was definitely a difficult point for me, when we go on that journey, there's this decision to make, or the perception of a decision that we have to make, I should say, which is, do I live my soul's calling and not earn really any money, or do I like just do this job or this work and then I just kind of have my life outside of when I work? And really, what the combination of living and working your soul's mission is that they're one and the same. Now, simultaneously, that doesn't mean you have to be starting your own business. It doesn't have to mean you have to be an entrepreneur. It doesn't mean you have to do anything. But the kind of orientation which we take people through to is, how do you understand what your soul's purpose and mission? And what I like to say is, like, you made the journey to Earth, you may as well make the most out of it. If we've come all the way here to go through all the trials and tribulations, what we kind of go through as a human, we may as well come and fulfill the mission. So, as we help people to connect to that and to express that, we take people step by step through, whether it is to creating your own entrepreneurial business in service to others, or if it's you're a conscious leader in an organization, how to bring your own conscious blueprint, your conscious leadership blueprint to the forefront, or whether you're someone who is a healer and wanting to learn more about this, or if you're just a prominent member in your community, or if you want to be a better husband or a father or a mother or a wife or whatever it might be. It's about living and working your soul's mission and anchoring that in for the purpose of contributing positively to the planetary shift towards love. Because I think we can all agree, if we turn on the news, or we look out the window, there's so much separation that's just being experienced and perpetuated by people who have been lost completely in the illusion of separation, that landed on Earth and forgot why we came here, that didn't know that there was this unconditionally loving being that connects all of us, that is our very essence, that is our very being, that is here to radiate this ever present love throughout consciousness. It's just been this great amnesia. And the best way, I believe, that we all wake up, we don't wake up on our own. It's not one person wakes up. We're all one being. If one part of your body wakes up in the morning and the rest of your body doesn't wake up, you're not awake. If we think of ourselves as this one great ocean or this body of experience, that everything needs to wake up together for us to wake up. And as we bring these different aspects of divinity through our own consciousness, through our own individuations, and as we share that on the planet, as we boldly step into service and begin to have the courage to express our inner truth, these waves of illumination and awakening spread throughout the planet that are an alternative to the suffering that is so ever present throughout this third density experience that we're going through. But we're at the precipice of this change, of this transformation. And there's so many different people who have come to Earth who have chosen to incarnate at this special time for this big transformation from third to fourth entity. In other words, like moving more into heart centered consciousness. And when people recognize that's why we came here, we find that infinite inner love and purpose. And when we have the empowerment and the courage and a like hearted community of support around us, we all potentiate each other's potential. And that transformation doesn't happen when the ETs land. That transformation doesn't happen somewhere out in the distant future. That transformation doesn't happen when someone comes and quote unquote saves us. It happens when we all find our inner truth and we create the reality we prefer through conscious action, choosing to choose love, to express love when in spite of the separation. It doesn't matter that the separation is there because it doesn't have any effect upon the very truth of who we are.
Yes, I agree with you. Beautiful. And Michael, you can scare your clients telling them you sign a contract when you came here. If you don't do what I'm telling you to do, you're gonna get in legal trouble and you go back.
That is
And
scary.
yes, very scary. And
It's
is
not,
is sorry.
I'm just going to say, Claudia, it like that you don't have to tell them to go back. That's a motivation. The motivation is if you don't come here and do it again, you'll have to come here again. That's what
Yes.
really scares people.
And is your direction also focused on corporate leaders? Because, in my opinion, they need a lot of work. They need a lot of help to transform themselves, to get rid of the trauma, to become more ethical in leading their corporations, regardless if they are a Fortune 500 or a smaller company. They need this level of consciousness that will drill down or will be waved down to the employees and to the company's mission.
Yes, and absolutely. And the kind of people that I work with, whether it be CEOs or owners of organizations, through to larger company sizes, right through to kind of more like grassroots kind of small business owners. But yes, and that's the conscious leadership aspect of the work that I do. And really, conscious leadership is about using your position of influence within an organization that has a impact in the world to bring your own conscious blueprint to that. Now, here's what's interesting because often people think about conscious leadership or spirituality, and actually the work that I offer with people, some people might not be quote unquote really kind of like out there and spiritual, but what the kind of brings everyone together that I work with is that they want to contribute positively to that planetary shift towards love. So that's really like the prerequisite for working with me. If you feel like you're a person who wants to contribute positively to the planetary shift towards love, and you're in an organization or you're a business leader, all these types of things, then we can help you to amplify that. It's like when you know what your purpose is, if you like, I'm just like this analogy's coming up because I know that you write so much, and I can speak from my own experience of writing. If I know what I'm writing about, or I know the purpose of writing, the words will just flow through. If I don't really know, or I'm confused about the purpose, then like it just doesn't really flow out. So essentially, what we're doing with these conscious leaders is we're asking you to not double down, but like triple down on your purpose of, okay, own it, accept it. This is why you came here. You're in this position because you've got the opportunity to transform the kind of organization, the people around you. Having someone in a conscious leadership position, and I can think to all the jobs and organizations that I worked for before I became an entrepreneur. If I had a conscious leader at the forefront of this,
Mm.
my experience of what the world would be completely different. I came out of university after studying medicinal chemistry, and I went straight into a job in recruitment. And that organization was, I would say, across like that industry, it's just unconsciousness being self-serving and wanting to create abundance for the individual or the organization. So there's so much trauma that happens through that point, and there's so much trauma that happens in the workplace, and we're not even talking about harassment and kind of minorities having problems and kind of not equal opportunities and all that stuff. That's just one side, which is, its whole thing in itself. But the trauma that we experience in the workplace is that the very morals or ethics of what these organizations are built on aren't actually supporting the planetary shift towards love. But the myth that also occurs in terms of what conscious leadership or conscious business or conscious organization, when we talk about what Jamie is talking about, polarizing in service to others or that planetary shift, being of service to others or service to all includes the self. It's like having the oxygen mask on before you help other people. It's about nourishing yourself. It's about, think about like how much work would you get done in a day if you weren't able to eat food in the day? You need to eat food to be able to support people. So, and just to kind of like summarize that, conscious leadership, the conscious leadership blueprint or the inner truth seekers conscious leadership blueprint, which we've created, it's about helping people to find their own inner truth in their own leadership style. But what we kind of see is that people are able to access their own inner truth more, have conscious awareness of the unconscious patterns and behaviors and traumas and limiting beliefs that unconsciously play out in the organization. We're seeing that people are being able to be more effective, more conscious, more have more abundance through that process because they're being more conscious. Like the traditional leadership styles that we have in the business and capitalism and how the world's kind of been built is, it's kind of been like you take it all for yourself. That's the kind of thing, and that's been kind of rewarded, and that's the kind of type of industries that have kind of got to the top of the world and have controlled the world in many ways. But what we're bringing through is a radical new paradigm where bringing forth your conscious awareness in your leadership, when you believe that that's actually beneficial, it breaks down all these limiting beliefs and the constructs. Like if you're in the paradigm in the game where serving yourself is what gets you rich or serving yourself is what makes you successful, you have to play by those rules until you kind of like break those down, then you start playing from the rules of your own game, which is basically your own soul's blueprint. So it's just about helping people to access their own inner truth, their own leadership style. It's not about one size fits all. Like I work with one person in one organization and one in another organization who has the same goals, and the way we get there is completely different because it's unique to every individual. But yes, absolutely, work with organizational leaders across different sizes of businesses, and it's really about expressing your soul's blueprint and then that harmonization also of your life and your work, because often one takes a priority. It's about designing your dream life in terms of what you want in your life and then creating the kind of work balance that kind of fits that as well.
Yes, it's interesting because I interviewed Trisha Eastman a while back, and I asked her, why did you go to World Economic Forum? And she said, I infiltrated, air quotes, just because I wanted to get to the young leaders and do a sacred plant ceremony with them, either Aya or Iboga or mushrooms. I want to change their mindset before they get into the corporate world. So her mission is very noble and very tough, in my opinion. But I think she has her foot in the door, and is just a matter of shouldering the door and going through.
Great. And I think just to add to that, Claudio, I think when we think about changing the world, like firstly, I think that there can be like sometimes there can be a distortion within that we feel like we have to change the world and we can kind of feel like there's a burden on our shoulders. And I just want to speak to anyone out there right now who is kind of in the position or is worried about kind of the conflicts and what's kind of going on the earth and this kind of time of a great transformation. If we think about this multidimensionally, when you create the vibration in your own being, in your own field, the reality experience then becomes in alignment with that field and that vibration. So you're not changing the whole world, you're changing your field, you're changing your vibration. And when that vibration changes, the reality that we create around us then shifts. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling like things are dark or things are difficult, don't focus on having to change the world or like change the outcome. Think about what inputs that you can focus upon that can positively contribute to the planetary shift towards love. And you can even just bring it down even closer. It's like, what one thing could I do today, perhaps that was just in my family relationship? One thing I could shift that would shift the vibration towards more love. Like, there's so many manageable things that we can do, from holding the door open to someone or letting them go in front of us in traffic, through to, just like a favorable act to someone that can be supportive. Like, the world is the changing of the world essentially is by all these like small acts of care and kindness. And if we focus on that manageable aspect, the transformation of that planetary shift towards love is instantaneous. That one act, as you bring yourself into the awareness of that act, if you do that, you hold the door open for someone, you're accessing the vibration of that planetary shift towards love. And all these different little acts of kindness, or whatever you might find, or this conscious awareness coming through you, that is the opportunity for you to contribute to that planetary shift towards love.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you, Michael. Jamie, I only had a handful of couples on my podcast. So you two work so intimately together in this field. How do you maintain personal boundaries while holding space for others?
I love that. That's no one's ever asked me that, Claudia. So thank you. Here's the truth. Michael and I kinda enjoy each other's company quite a bit. And I don't know how common that is, but we sincerely enjoy all the different ways we have of connecting, personally and professionally. We like, if you think of like the love languages, quality time is one of our most high love languages, each one of us. So we actually like hanging out with each other. We love having conversations. We like tuning in to deeper topics and really kind of diving deep. Or one of us, has something going on and we bring it to the other one to kind of explore further, those types of things. We also enjoy going out for motorcycle rides together in these mountains around here. It's like unbeatable, that experience to be out in nature and no humans and no development and just be quiet and just kind of riding through on the planet is quite lovely. And then Michael and I are both Capricorns, and so that has a tendency, both of us are very sort of driven to take action in the physical world. And so we're very inspired. And then we also really love making things happen and creating things. We do that all the time, and it's something we both really enjoy. We're very creative. Michael's a musician. I'm a designer. So we both have a lot of things that we love doing together. We also like having our own uninterrupted time, is what I would call it. Michael likes to be in his studio for 3 or 4 hours and be able to make music, record music, write. I love having uninterrupted time to kind of inwardly connect with my own higher guidance and team, to come up with writing ideas, to be inspired for design or art, those types of things. We both like to go out on walks with our dogs, so we do a lot together. And quite honestly, there's some times where I think, you know what? I need some alone time. And my mind will tell me I need like 3 day weekend of alone time. But literally it's like 2 hours pass and I'm like, hey, what are you doing? And I'm back in his field again. So, for whatever reason, uh, we enjoy the crap out of each other. And we do need our private time, our quiet time, our uninterrupted time to ourselves to create, think, rest, whatever it is. So for us, also, we both are very good at communicating exactly what we need. You're never gonna, if you were witnessing a conversation between Michael and I, neither one of us are holding back or hedging ever. We're saying directly, I need this. What does that look like? How can we make that happen? We ask for the things we need. We share what we need. We support each other in that open and transparent communication. So, whenever that comes up that we need to take some time apart, we know when that happens, we communicate it and then we honor it and respect it.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yes. And I know after being in my own marriage for 31 years, I understand and I know that communications is the most important component of that relationship. That's for sure.
Congratulations
Yeah,
on 31
definitely
years.
is.
That's great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And guys, if you have the chance to invite three personalities from the spiritual community for dinner, who will those people be?
Gosh, Claudia, I'm cracking up because inwardly I'm talking to my team about this, my what I would call my spirit team. So it wouldn't be humans. I would have Jesus, Mary Magdalene, and Kuan Yin there for sure. Maybe one of my trees that I know very well. I would have a tree spirit there as well. So I would have four, and they would be my spirit team. And I would say, come in, be physically incarnate for 2 hours, and let's eat.
Perfect. Michael?
Yes, I was also going to say that non physicals. We're probably quite introvert in terms of human connection, it seems. But if you're asking, we're going to have the dinner party. I say, why limit ourselves to the human world? I was going to say the raw consciousness. I was also going to say Jesus, uh, especially around Christmas. Um, then I don't know who the third one would be. Yeah. But I would summarize, in terms of the quality, I'm just going to put an advert out there for the third person, like who wants to come. It would be someone who's really, really kind of like tuned in to their own inner knowing. And it would be someone who would maybe like also hold the conversation quite well at the dinner table. And yeah, be a little bit humorous and then also just like have a lot of transmissions for us.
So Yeshua is one of the most requested guests of this type of dinners, and Babaji is also one of them from time to time. All renowned masters. So thank you very much for inviting them. And in fact, one of my guests was so um, enchanted by our discussion that when I asked this question, said, "I will invite you too, so we can continue our discussion." I said, "Okay, I'm honored." So that was very nice of him.
I love
Beautiful.
that. Oh, and you know what? I'm going to add one thing, Claudia. I just thought Michael and I have a mutual friend, David, who is quite a conversationalist, and
Yes.
he's very perspicacious. He's very considerate and thoughtful, and asks very deep questions, and then has plenty to share on his own. So I just thought he might enjoy the dinner party too. If he's out there, he knows we're talking about him. So David, you're invited as well.
Perfect. Thank you. And we are approaching the end of this lovely discussion. Any final thoughts?
Just want to say a big thanks to everyone for listening. Thank you, Claudia, for having us back. Thank you, Jamie. And if I was just going to leave with any kind of like final thought, it would just be to trust yourself. Like trust yourself. Can you imagine what your experience of life would be like if you just trusted yourself in every moment? Now, I'm not pretending that I trust myself in every moment by any means, but like as it kind of comes through, I think there's just this invitation to lean in to trust, like lean out of the self-doubt and into confidence and bring that trust and that confidence into every aspect of your work, your life. And it's not about arrogance, it's just about trusting like how brilliant you are, trusting about how much inspiration you have and how much of an inspiration you are to others. And every time that you kind of notice yourself kind of dropping into that self-doubt, it's just an invitation, it feels like, as like a conscious action practice, is just to notice when you step into self-doubt, and rather than going down the kind of the loop or the spiral of that self-doubt that might last half an hour or a few days, this is an invitation. Can we become aware of when we drop into self-doubt? Can we come back to our heart center and can we move into trust? and then just see how that kind of transforms our experience of reality. And then what I'd also like to say is, if you like those types of exercises and kind of practices, if you sign up to Inner Truth Seekers on our website, we've got a free 8-day Inner Truth immersion. We will guide you through different meditations and practices to help you to connect to your own inner truth. So you can sign up for that for free at innertruthseekers.com. You'll also be a part of our mailing list, or we've got our weekly mailing list. We've got our podcast coming up. We've got our YouTube channel. We've got the Inner Truth Seekers Academy, which is launching. So we've got some special founding member prices that we've got for that. So it's really, really been a pleasure to be here. If you've got any questions for us, anyone who has enjoyed this conversation, we also offer free 30-minute clarity calls, and you can find all of our work on our beautifully designed website by my wife Jamie here.
Yeah, thanks, love. And Claudio, I also want to just say, thank you for all the work that you do.
Yes.
Literally, we are spiritually inspired by you. I was thinking of that today and I thought, oh my God, I mean it. Because of everything you do and all the conversations you have and all the hearts and minds that you open through all of the work that you do. We just thank you for that.
Thank you. I'm blushing right now. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And much love from me, and good luck in everything you are doing. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much.
And to my viewers, thank you for watching. Share it, leave a comment, visit the websites I mentioned at the beginning of the interview. And until next time, love and gratitude.